If you have an old, well-used whiteboard in your classroom, you might see something a little strange. Ghosts. Not the spooky kind. If you are seeing those, that's up to you. I'm talking about the ghosts of lectures past. Faded words and numbers or smudgy stains. Dry erase markers are designed to write on smooth, hard surfaces and erase without a trace. So how come they are sometimes so hard to erase, and what can you do to get rid of the leftover marks? The ingredients of a dry erase marker aren't actually all that different from the ingredients of a permanent marker. Both have three main components: solvents, pigments, and polymers. The solvent is the liquid that carries all of the other ingredients inside of the marker, and after you write something, it evaporates. Usually markers use ethanol, which is the kind of alcohol people drink, or isopropanol, aka rubbing alcohol, because they evaporate quickly, which means it's harder to accidentally smudge whatever you've just written. The pigment, of course, is the thing that gives the ink its color. In black markers, for example, manufacturers can use a fine powder called carbon black. But the key difference between the permanent and the dry erase markers is the third thing: the polymers. Polymers are compounds that are basically chains of repeating sections. Permanent markers normally have acrylic polymers, which have chains based on acrylic acid. These polymers are similar to the ones you would find in house paint or nail polish, and they help colors stick. Dry erase markers, on the other hand, have oily silicone polymers, also called release agents. They have chains made up of silicon and oxygen, and they form a slippery barrier between the pigment and the whiteboard. The teacher can take an eraser and wipe that dried layer of pigment right off the top. The release agents mostly stick around and leave a transparent, oily residue on the board. But here's the thing: dry erase markers only work if you're drawing on the right kind of surface. Specifically, it has to be a non-porous surface like glass, without any tiny holes that the fluid can slip into. With a porous surface, like a piece of paper, the silicone polymers won't be able to form that barrier, and the dry erase ink will seep in, just like any other marker. So the best whiteboards are extremely smooth, with no pores at all. After lots of use, though, whiteboards start to wear down, and cracks and pores might open up, which can let the ink flow down below the surface and dry there. These stains, or ghosting, can also appear if you smudge around fresh markings, which shifts around the layers of polymers and pigments so that the polymers don't form that nice barrier between the pigment and the board. They'll also show up if the ink has been left there for a really, really long time. The trick to getting rid of this dried pigment is to redissolve it so it can be wiped away. In fact, most of the whiteboard cleaning sprays you can buy are just different kinds of solvents. Some generic rubbing alcohol will do the exact same thing. And there you have it, your ghostly whiteboard problem solved with chemistry. Thank you to our Patreon patrons who keep these answers coming. If you would like to submit a question to be answered, or get these quick questions a few days before everybody else, you can go to patreon.com/SciShow, and don't forget to go to youtube.com/SciShow and subscribe.
If you had a thermometer and took your temperature right now, you'd probably get a reading around 37 degrees Celsius. That number may vary a little from day to day or even hour to hour, but overall, your body temperature is pretty consistent. If you get too hot